The Two Blues podcast and another live match reaction this week. It's the FA Cup, Chelsea at home to Preston, and we've managed to come away with a 4-0 win. An inspired last 45 minutes, because that first 45 minutes was not very glamorous. It was not a very exciting game, painful to watch for large parts, but for the most part, we got through it. We managed to do what we needed to do. Thanks for joining us again. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok. We will hopefully as well be bringing you a full match reaction with my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks, at some point this weekend. But for now, hosted as always by myself, we are going to take ourselves through a convincing win or comfortable win on paper for Chelsea. When you look at the scoreline, looks straightforward, looks simple, but it was anything but that. The first 45 minutes, that was dire. That was absolutely dreadful. And I hate to call him out. I mean, great finish, great goal. And, he got us out of a rut. Glad he scored when he did, and a fantastic header to do so. But Armando Broja, really not up to scratch today. Really don't see that hunger in Broja that we've seen at Southampton, that we've seen before. I mean, even before at Chelsea, before his injury. I mean, we've seen Armando Broja is a very keen runner, presser of the ball. I'm not really seeing that. I'm not really seeing that aggression, that hunger, that desire to go and win the ball, to go and create chances, to get in dangerous situations. There was that glaring opportunity, that real chance in the first half where Enzo had that header, the ball looped up. Enzo had that header, and Broja was standing 10 yards behind him. I was thinking, why are you standing there? Why is that not roles reversed? As a striker, surely you should be the one in that 6-yard box, waiting for the ball to pop up, waiting for something to happen, waiting for a dangerous opportunity or an opportunity to make yourself dangerous. But instead it was Enzo. He fumbled the opportunity, and I've got to say, I mean, he got his goal at the end. Glad he did. Can't believe the VAR took so long. Fucking hell. I mean, that was a clear goal. That was a clear onside. As soon as we saw the still, not that we see the lines anymore. They never show us the lines. Ridiculous, considering there's 3 VARs, that it took that long and we don't get clear confirmation or communication across the screens to the viewers. But it managed to go in. He managed to get a goal. But I've got to say, Enzo Fernandez, poor game today from him. On the whole, I know he's dealing with hernia issues. I know he's not fully fit, but in a game like today, he's decided not to risk Nkunku, not to include Nkunku at all in the matchday squad, which I'm not mad about. I think, Preston at home in the FA Cup, while we've got to show some respect, and, it was a difficult game and it's not, going to be a walk in the park, we don't need Nkunku to come out and risk himself in a game where he could potentially get clattered and, be pushed back in terms of his injury or his schedule. So keep him for the Middlesbrough and the Fulham games. I'm not mad about that. I would have liked to see Mudryk start, in the 30 minutes that he came on in the second half. I think he created more than Mudryk did in his 50, 60 minutes. I think Mudryk was probably the bright spark, or one of the bright sparks in that Chelsea side. Sterling created, Sterling had a fairly good game. His free kick was sublime. A couple of good sparks, a couple of dangerous opportunities. I'm begrudgingly saying this because when he goes down far too easily. I think there's times where he doesn't lead by example. He doesn't put in the work rate that we like to see. But on the whole today, he did kind of spearhead that attack. He was one of, if not the main threats going forward. And obviously, like I said, sublime free kick to kind of put the icing on the cake and put that game to bed. There's very few times this season we've seen Chelsea be absolutely ruthless. We go out and go and get that third, fourth goal, kill the game, put the game to bed. We don't really see that side of Chelsea. We haven't for quite a few years now, but today there was some element of that. I'm inclined to suggest, it's one of those where we look at it and say, look, we weren't at our best. We struggled at times, but black and white, end of the day, we still managed to get a 4-0 win. It's comfortable. It's solid. A fair few people on the score sheet. Great couple of debuts in it. Great performance from Alfie Gilchrist. I know he was stretched a little bit at right back, playing out of position. Don't know why Poch continues to play these players out of position. We'll get onto that in a minute. Alfie Gilchrist obviously had a good shift today. And what was it? Holden came on. Michael Holden came on. 17 years old. The smile on his face when he came on, sublime. I mean, he was talking, we rarely see it, that when a player makes his debut, how happy he was. But yeah, he got a good 10 minutes. Had a great opportunity as well. Really should have scored. But yeah, for a 17-year-old to be getting his debut in Chelsea since being with the club since I think it was under 11, they said, yeah, fantastic for him. Icing on the cake to have a couple of youngsters get minutes. David Washington as well. Maybe there was a couple of things he could have done a bit better, but I'm not going to sit here and complain or criticize any of these substitutes, because all of the players that came on were players that have been limited, very limited in terms of their minutes, their opportunities, particularly Washington, and obviously Mudryk as well. I'll go back. I'm disappointed not to see him start today. It's a game that I don't think we really needed to start Sterling, in that he didn't need to be brought back for match fit, for fitness, because he was injured or anything. Mudryk, I feel, after the last couple of weeks, definitely should have been in the starting 11 today. Whether it was at Mudryk's expense or Sterling, I don't know. I personally would have played Mudryk and Mudryk, but end of the day, Mudryk was poor today. I'll call it when I see it. I back Mudryk. I think he was very, very. He's a very good player, great prospect, big future at Chelsea. But today he was poor. Could have done a lot more, I think, on that left side. Realistically, talent-wise, he should have had the beating of his counterpart Potts every single time. But, he pretty much had him in his pocket, didn't really do any danger. And yeah, looked dejected when he came off. Whether that's because Potter's interrupted his rhythm by kind of benching him for a couple of games, I don't know. He was obviously getting into the swing of things, as we see with Mykhailo Mudryk. And I said in the TikTok live before the game, Mudryk is a positive feedback player. The more games he gets, the more confidence he gets, the more goals and assists and contributions, and the better his performances become, the more minutes he gets. It all feeds back into each other. And that's, the situation with quite a lot of these players. And I feel like Mudryk is in a similar situation whereby he should be given minutes, when he is putting in the match-winning performances that he did last week, and obviously the match-winning contributions he did the week before that. So, when he came on today, impressed me. I think one-on-one, there's not one better player in this Chelsea squad than Mudryk. I think one-on-one, his ability to take on a player, maybe Sterling. Obviously, we've got to give him his credit where he's due. He's a Premier League legend. He's a great winger. I might hate on him sometimes and might call him out for small things, but his talent is undeniable. He's done it for so many years. We can't sit here and say he's a bad footballer. One-on-one, he's a great dribbler when he's on his day. But Mudryk as well, I think his one-on-one skill, his dribbling is fantastic. And I said earlier before the game, watching that Sunderland-Newcastle game, Anthony Gordon, he's a player that I never wanted at Chelsea. We were linked with him quite heavily. Never wanted him, never interested. Not turned down, I had no say in it, obviously, but turned my nose up at it. Didn't want anything to do with it on social media, whatever. The one thing I think Anthony Gordon has that we really lack in this Chelsea squad is directness. That ability to just go at your player, to go out and get in the penalty box, get the ball in or win a foul. Anthony Gordon, every time he gets the ball, he might be considered a little bit selfish sometimes, which might have a negative effect when they're losing or when he's not on his best form, but he will always be looking to get the ball, drive at his man, get in the box and create a dangerous situation. And that is something that I think players like Mudryk, need to do more. They are dangerous, talented young players. They need to have confidence and faith in their own abilities, go against them. A team like Preston today, lower league opposition, again, give them all due respect. They used to be a great club, still a good outfit, professional footballers, still pretty good at what they do. But these players are not as good as the players that Mudryk and Mudryk are playing week in, week out. This is their opportunity to go and show what they can do and really turn up the gears a little bit. And Mudryk really didn't do that today, didn't take his opportunity, which I was disappointed with. Surely, it's a bigger pitch than they used to. There's going to be a lot more space. Take advantage of that, get a few more balls in the box. He didn't really do that. There was a couple of good chances he created, but it was fairly limited and nowhere near what we expect for a player, from a player of Mykhailo Mudryk's class. But Mudryk was positive today. A fair few positives to take from that Chelsea side. The Sterling free kick was fantastic there. A lot of disorganisation at the back again. Disasi I wasn't best pleased with. Levi Colwill had a fairly solid game. Petrovic again, no complaints about Petrovic. And I think that will be a big thing. When Sanchez comes back from injury, there's no way that he could put Sanchez back in the team. Petrovic, surely he's going to have a riot on his hands. Definitely from my side. I don't know about the rest of the Chelsea fan base, how you lot feel, but Petrovic for me has nailed down this number one starting position, hands down. There is no way that Robert Sanchez could oust him. The performances he's putting in, goal saving. They didn't have too much to do today, but everything that he did, very, very comfortable, looked brilliant. And I feel like he puts the defenders at ease. And even when they were making mistakes and weren't keeping the ball great, there was a couple of times in that first half where I was sitting there thinking, this could be 1-2-0. to Preston here. We could lose this game. There are too many mistakes where I feel like they could go and nab a goal on the counter attack, and we could just struggle to break them down. There were times I think Cole Palmer wasn't at his best today. There were times where we were really struggling to create things. I think I called out Broja earlier for a poor performance, but the lack of service. I mean, I know how Man United fans feel, when they're talking about Rasmus Højlund going, I know he's got no goals, but he's got no service. Broja didn't have nothing. And I know I said earlier, he's got no hunger to kind of chase after the ball, but he had very little to chase after from a service and from a Chelsea perspective. It was always loose ends, loose balls, possession at the back for Preston. There wasn't really much coming into Broja from anyone. Palmer struggled to get the ball up to him. Enzo, like I said earlier, was off the boil today. I thought Caicedo played pretty well. His first half was a little bit shaky. His passing wasn't fantastic, but he breaks up the play very well, and he's very mobile. I know we like to see him in that deeper position, and that's what he's good at, but he is able to get forward. He is able to, and hopefully he can kind of add, I know he's still young, 22 years old in November. Hopefully he can add kind of more attacking attributes to his game, because he does kind of strike me as a Michael Essien player. I know he's got that Claude Makélélé in him at the moment, kind of sitting in front of the defense, but he does kind of strike me as a player that could have the lungs, could have the stamina to be kind of that Michael Essien, to go forward, have them, rampage and then bulldozing runs. I know he's a slight player, and I know he's not that kind of guy at the moment, but seeing him playing kind of this little bit more fluid position in those three. I mean, at times Enzo was playing as a number 8. Caicedo was a little bit higher. It seems to be kind of, very, very fluid. And while today I think we suffered a little bit, particularly in that first half, from a lack of control in the midfield, I think the quality of those players, bearing in mind that Enzo, not fully fit, he's got a hernia, ongoing injury issues, whatever. Bearing in mind that these players are continually being switched up, their partners are not the same. I feel like they're doing their job, and Caicedo particularly is doing his job well enough. He's not hitting the heights here. He's not 115 mil for me, and I wouldn't have paid 115 mil for him. I probably would have tapped out around 95, maybe 100 at most, but 115 mil is a lot. And Caicedo's got a lot of slack, particularly in recent weeks, because he plays so deep, and when he does make a mistake, it's very, very obvious. But I think he grew into the game today. He was definitely a stabilizing force in that midfield, and I think that is what he is best used as at the moment. If we can have players like Enzo and, heaven forbid, Conor Gallagher in around him as well to kind of provide that energy, that tempo, that intensity, I feel like that trio is our best option at the moment for controlling midfields. We saw it earlier in the season when we were playing against Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City. Those three were the three in midfield, and we controlled games in midfield, and that was where the game is won. So often that is where it is. And there were so many times today where there was just nothing. We were feeding it to players like Palmer. He had nothing. Broja, nothing. There was nothing to look back into. No runners, no organisation in the middle. And I know it partially comes down to injuries, but I mean, it also comes down to, partly Poch switching up positions. And that mostly comes in the defence. Because again, today, playing players out of position, I'll always say it's great to have players that can play in 2 or 3 positions. When you look at Levi Colwill, I'll take Levi Colwill as the first example. Levi Colwill's best position is a centre-back, hands down. No question about it. Nobody can tell me he's a better left-back than he is a centre-back or a right-back or whatever. He is a centre-back. The fact that he can put in good performances at left back is an added bonus. The fact that he can add that to his game, he can have that extra attribute that other centre backs, other players might not. I don't think Pochettino would trust Badia Shield enough to play him at left back, but he trusts Levi Colwill, and I think that says a lot about not only Poch's faith in him, but also Levi Colwill's quality and the quality of a lot of these Chelsea players. But for me today, to play Gilchrist at right back and Gusto at left back. Surely, the logical back four for me was Gusto right back, Gilchrist, Disasi centre back, and then Levi Colwill left back, as you've been priming him to play there all season. But he switched it again today, put Malo Gusto on the left, Alfie Gilchrist on the right, and then Levi Colwill and Disasi in centre back. Now, Levi Colwill had a fairly solid game. Disasi, I wasn't best pleased or best impressed with today. I think he was fairly sloppy. A few times he was kind of definitely going for the man, not the ball, kind of left it behind him, and the player just kind of nipped around him and took it. And he took his eye off the ball a couple of times today. And those kind of lapses in concentration do make me kind of doubt Disasi. I know I'm a little bit skeptical, given kind of the price tag, but I've got a fish. I'm kind of partial to Colwill, Badia Shield. Obviously, Thiago Silva as well. These players that have a little bit more behind them, a little bit more credit. And Disasi kind of needs to do a little bit more for me to kind of make his way and stake his claim in this Chelsea team. It looks like Badiashil's injured again. Obviously, Thiago Silva was rested today. Imagine he'll be straight back into the starting lineup next week. But I mean, looking, halfway through the season, looking to January, if we don't tie down Thiago Silva into, in some to an extension or something, either way, we've got to plan for the future. We've got to start looking at a plan and thinking who is going to be our centre-back pair. We can't have this chopping and changing every single week. And Gusto playing left back, I think, is detrimental to both our team and him. He is a fantastic right back. He played fairly well again today, but there were a couple of times where he looked out of position. There were split moments where he just went completely the wrong way and he looked out of position. It showed that he was on the wrong side. It was obviously on his, and I think when we have better options, I honestly think it should have been, Gilchrist at centre-back. He kind of got taken the piss out of a little bit by that ex-Liverpool player. I can't remember his name, but, they didn't really cause too many problems. But what they did came from that left, and there was a couple of times where he got beyond him, and if he had kept the ball in play, it would have been a problem. Disasi covering as well, not the fastest. I didn't have too much faith in that kind of right side of defence over there. Would have been a lot more comfortable had it been Gusto on the right side, Cole in centre-back, and then obviously Gilchrist with Disasi to lean on. But Poch continues to tinker. Today, it worked. I say worked. It worked out for him. He managed to get away with it because up until that first goal, it was a very even game. You couldn't really have called it. It was looking increasingly. The more I was watching, the longer I was watching, I was thinking this is going to be a Preston win. We are going to slip up here. They are going to score on the counter, and we're not going to be able to break through. It was going to be a classic Chelsea performance whereby we just cannot really create any clear-cut chances. We get the ball into the box a couple of times. Nothing really happens. It's a bit of a mess, few scuffles, maybe we get one or two opportunities from set pieces. It really didn't strike me as a game where we had 4 goals in us, but we managed to pull it out. Obviously, like I said, we got thank Sterling for a sublime free kick, Broja for a sublime header, Gusto, fantastic cross for the header as well, put it on a plate for him. That was the service that we needed to give Broja all games. Broja had absolutely nothing. If he'd have got a couple more crosses like that, it probably would have been 6-7-0. We probably would have, been able to put the game to bed in that first half. But, it took him a good 55, 60 minutes to get involved, which is a shame because I've got such high hopes for Armando Broja. I've backed Armando Broja for so long, said he's such a talented player. I think he's got all the tools necessary to be a top striker in the Premier League for Chelsea, whoever it is. I think he's strong, he's powerful, he's clinical, he's got great technical ability, great feet. He can score with his left foot, right foot, head. He's a fantastic striker. But he hasn't looked the same since coming back from his injury. And I know he's still working his way back into the team. So I've got to give him a little bit of slack. But at the same time, after this long, maybe we might have rushed him back in because of AFCON and whatever. But at the same time, he needs to step up to the plate. He knows what's needed and expected of him. If he's not fit and ready, don't include him in the squad. It should show in training, but he's obviously doing enough for Pochettino to consider him. We've had times previously where Cole Palmer's played in a false 9. Raheem Sterling's fulfilled that role. We don't need, realistically, Broja. We got Nkunku on the bench. If Broja wasn't doing enough for Poch behind the scenes, he wouldn't be playing. But there are certain times where, today just incredibly frustrated with Armando Broja again. And you look at, the next month, the next 5 weeks, where without Nicholas Jackson, with Nkunku kind of playing a bit part role in this squad, working his way back to full fitness, Armando Broja is the only number 9, is the only option. So in the likely event that we don't sign a striker in January, Armando Broja is going to have to tie it down and going to have to step up to the plate. Luckily for him, obviously, he had Preston today, who was a little bit of easier way to get into it. Then he's got Middlesbrough in the week, Fulham, then Middlesbrough again. It's not the hardest run of games, but then we got Liverpool after that. If Jackson's still at AFCON by the 31st, he's got to go up against Van Dijk. It's going to be difficult for Armando Broja. I don't really know if he's got that in him at the moment, if he's got that confidence in him. I don't really see that hunger, that desire. And that all comes from the confidence in himself. And maybe it's because he's a little bit worried he might get injured. Maybe he's worried he's not at 100%. Maybe he's sticking to a system, or maybe it's something that Poch has told him. I don't know. But there definitely seems to be something different about Armando Broja. And I really don't know if he is going to be able to hold it down without the help of Nkunku over the next couple of weeks. If he doesn't score against Middlesbrough and Fulham, it's it's looking techie for him because, I mean, I've got a lot more patience than a lot of the Chelsea fan base. A lot of people, and there may well even be people in the comments, that disagree with me and don't think Broja's up to it. But a lot of these Chelsea fans don't rate Broja like I do, don't really see a future for him, want him out of the club this January. I personally, if we were to see him leave, it would only be because we bought a striker in, and also it would be on a loan. I mean, we've got so many strikers at the moment, so many young strikers. We saw Washington come on today. We're going to bring Datra Fofana back from loan just to send him to Sevilla. We've got so many strikers with a similar profile. That's why if we're going to go for a striker in January, I don't want to bring in someone like Benjamin Sesko, someone that is a similar profile in terms of age and talent and prospect to, 22-year-old Nicholas Jackson, Armando Broja, all these young strikers that have potential and great prospect, but need time and opportunity. There's no point in going out and doing that again. I feel like if we go out and spend, we need to do it on a proven striker. And realistically, how many are there that are going to hit the ground running that aren't going to cost you 100 mil? And I don't really want to see that pressure. We know how it goes with Chelsea and the strikers, the number 9 curse. I don't really want to see that happen. So I'm just praying at this point that Armando Broja can keep up this form. Obviously this goal can give him a massive boost in confidence. Hopefully he, can kick on. Whether he starts, I mean, I ideally again would hope that Nkunku starts against Middlesbrough. I'd like to see, Mudryk, Mudryk, Palmer around him. Solid attacking football, fluid. But I highly doubt Broja does not start against Middlesbrough. Poch, as he has shown throughout the season, likes to start with a recognised number 9, no matter how poor they have been in the previous game. And the fact that Broja scored today, I think Poch will probably lean on that and say, I'm going to push you and I'm going to back that and I'm going to give you the nod again at number 9. But Broja's got to do a lot more for me in the coming weeks than he did today, as do a lot of Chelsea players. I think we were lucky. I think 4-0 flatters us. I say lucky, not lucky to win, but lucky to get away with it with a clean sheet and, with such a large margin. There were quite a few times at 0-0 where it looked like it could have gone the other way. Poor unenforced errors, defensive mistakes, passing errors. We were slow. We were lethargic. We didn't really create anything. We weren't inventive. We weren't exciting. It was boring Chelsea for a lot of time. They talked a lot in the first 5 minutes about how good the atmosphere was. And that's because the tickets are cheaper. It's actual fans that are going. It's FA Cup. It's a bigger tournament, bigger event, whatever. That died out after 20, 30 minutes, as it so often does, because Chelsea just grind the fans down with how frustrating and how boring it is sometimes. We really have no attacking identity, no flair about us going forward, no real excitement. And when our best, most exciting and most attacking player, Raheem Sterling, is going down and throwing himself to the floor against League One opposition, it's tacky. But yeah, a win's a win. I can't complain too much. 4-0. We're through to the 4th round. Hopefully we get Maidstone or Maidenhead, whoever it was. Lemon's in the chat. Appreciate you, my bro. Come on, Chelsea. That's what we love to see. Best team in the world. It's not One Blue podcast, bro. But the live match reactions are all me now. Just for consistency's sake, C Money Picks is at work today. So I'm doing the live match reactions as I always do on my own. But hopefully we will give you a full match reaction at some point this weekend as well. Let's take this opportunity to say, make sure to follow at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram, TikTok. And if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Just hit 1K. Appreciate all you, man. Lemon as well. Bro said, poor game from Enzo. Have you checked his stats with a 9.8? Don't talk to me about stats, Lemon. Do not talk to me about stats. And his goal would have boosted that stat as well. And his goal was a tap-in. Don't talk to me about stats, bro. Enzo did not have a good game today. No. Don't chat. Come on. I'm Enzo's biggest fan. I know I'm skeptical and I know I'm critical. But Enzo was poor today. Mudryk got better in the second half. He could have gotten at least 70 minutes. Yeah, but the majority of our substitutes are attacking. We needed a change. Mudryk should have been on earlier anyway. Mudryk, I'd argue, maybe not for Mudryk, but Broja could have come off at half-time as well as Sterling for me to get Mudryk on. But yeah, Mudryk, disappointing from him today purely because of how much I'm expecting from him. And yeah, should have done a little bit more against Potts at right back there today. Potts should have given Gilchrist the 90 minutes instead of Disasi. Yeah, agreed. I think he was getting a little bit torn apart on that right side, Gilchrist. So I'm not surprised that he did pull him off and switch it up. But yeah, Disasi could have come off as well. I mean, I know they always say, you know, they don't make changes in defence or at centre back unless, you know, they're having an absolute stinker. But yeah, no, it was techie for Disasi today, personally. How are the lads? Apparently, maybe we'll see you in the fourth round. Appreciate you jumping in, Scott, my guy. Fourth round easy. Well, I don't know if you watched it, Scott, but easier said than done. Definitely, it's definitely easy on paper. Definitely flatters us on paper, that scoreline. You know, again, I don't want to be too critical, too negative, too skeptical of a 4-0 win, but you know, it was against League One opposition. I said before the game, nothing would be acceptable if not a comfortable win today. And I wouldn't treat today as a comfortable win. I mean, the scoreline was comfortable, but the performance, I mean, way too many mistakes, way too lackadaisical. I mean, we should have done way more to kill the game off earlier, and way more to this Preston side. We should have caused a lot more damage. We had a lot more talent on that field than we let off, than we gave them, than we showed them. And yeah, subpar performances from a fair few players today. I know I'm being critical, and I know I'm being skeptical, but you know, we expect that from a Chelsea side, a Champions League, a European qualifying side. We expect them to absolutely turn over, you know, a League One Preston. It shouldn't be a big thing. And yeah, we got lucky at times today. I think we managed to get through it just because of our quality. And I think that, you know, that edge in fitness and experience and quality did obviously give us that kind of edge. The more the game went on, we saw kind of how they started to tail off, and we benefited from that. And we were able to pick the lock a lot easier later in the game. But we shouldn't be relying on the other team getting tired and being less experienced at this level, and, you know, playing on smaller pitches. We shouldn't be relying on that to get wins against, you know, teams that realistically we should be turning over and sending home before the halftime whistle even goes. But yeah, man, end of the day, into the fourth round fairly comfortably. There are a fair few. I don't think there's been any real upsets, have there? I mean, I know Stevenage got put out by Maidstone or Maidenhead, whatever they are. Maidstone FC, I think it is. Who are the North Square Premier, but there hasn't really been any upsets, I believe, in the FA Cup so far this round. Obviously, big game tomorrow, but yeah, you know, Chelsea, we got a pick of the draw at the moment. I'm not confident about us particularly winning it. I think we can go far depending on the draw. You know, we tend to come alive in the cup games because of the atmosphere, because our fans at cup games are a lot better than they are in the Premier League, because it's all just, you know, tourists for Premier League games, to put it simply, and also in acceptable language. But the cup games are where our fans shine, and where the atmosphere gets better, and where our players relish that. And often, you know, even if we are behind or struggling, that's where we will, you know, get that second win. That 12th man will play the part. Cup competitions are a good opportunity for us to try and go far this year and actually do something, and lay down a marker under Poch. You know, we might not finish in the top four. We might not get European football this year, but if we can, you know, win one cup competition, I'd say it's fairly positive. Yes, I would 100% rather, you know, if you were to offer me top four or European football, if you were to offer me Champions League football or a domestic cup, 100%, obviously I'd take Champions League football every day of the week. But, you know, what Carabao Cup or EFL Cup is a way into Conference League or whatever it is. FA Cup is, you know, it's another trophy on the plaque. You know, it gets us back in, it gets us a little bit of confidence, gets the team in good morale, good spirits, bit of prize money to settle the FFP, and a little bit more incentive for people to join us. Because, you know, at the moment we are kind of languishing, as much as there are positives for us to take from the games. And, you know, what is that, 3 wins on the bounce now for Chelsea, which is, it's got to be a first for a good long time. But, you know, we need incentives to bring players to our clubs, and we can't just rely on, you know, you supported us when you were a kid and our financial power. We have to be able to say, look, the project that we are building is serious. We will be back. And we have to show players that. We have to really put our money where our mouth is and go out in the second half of the season and really put a run of form together. If we can go far in the cup competitions, fantastic. But given our performances against the bigger teams earlier in the season, and having not come away with 3 points every single time, I would expect Chelsea to do the same again in the second half of the season, with the boost of players like Nkunku, Romeo Lavia, Wes Fofana, Ben Chilwell. With these players coming back, I would expect Chelsea to beat the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, Newcastle, the players, the teams that we have struggled to get 3 points against before. We are, I said it earlier in the podcast, said it earlier in the strip, we're 12 points behind Arsenal. That is a closable gap. When you're talking about Arsenal being Premier League challengers this year? I don't think they are. I think it's between Man City and Liverpool. I think Man City will win it 100%, but I think Liverpool are the only team that will challenge them at the moment. Arsenal, I don't think are in it. 12 points is definitely a closable gap, given that we've got 18 games left. 12 points, that's 4 games that they need to lose, and one of them could be against us. That's a big 6-pointer. All of these games that we have to play are 6-pointers, and games like today, today was our opportunity to lay down a marker, give a few of these players confidence, minutes, opportunities to go out and say, look, I'm going to state my claim in this Chelsea team. I deserve minutes in the next few games against Middlesbrough, against Fulham, against Liverpool on the 31st. I know we got a break between that, but there are big games coming up, and this Chelsea squad need to be up for it, need to be laying down markers left, right, and centre, because we cannot be losing as many games as we have done in the first half of the season. The performance today definitely wasn't up to standard, but again, as it has been in the last few weeks, job done. We did enough to get over the line, and at this point, look at it in black and white. We're taking it as a positive. Can't complain too much. 4-0, another clean sheet. The first clean sheet for Petrovic, is it? We might have had one recently, I don't know. But first clean sheet for Petrovic that I can remember. Him looking very solid. Another few, good, 4 players getting on the score sheet. Yeah, can't complain. Can't complain. But yeah. We'll wait for the 4th round draw. I don't know when that is, but we'll find that out. Stick that on the Instagram or the Twitter. Make sure you're following at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok as well. And guys, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe to the channel already. We just hit 1K. We've just done our first giveaway. It was on our Instagram, but I put all the details on here. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to be in with a chance of winning free football shirts, free signed memorabilia. Just free cool shit as well, man. We're going to be sending out loads of stuff. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow at Two Blues Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. It's free. It takes 5 seconds. Just hit that button, man. But yeah, like I said earlier, hopefully we will be back for a full live match or full match reaction. With my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks. But for now, that just about wraps up our live match reaction. Make sure you go and watch our latest episode as well of Two Blues Transfer News. That's making a comeback for this January transfer window. We just done a transfer episode, mainly talking about the incomings for Chelsea. We will do another one talking about the outgoings, mainly Conor Gallagher, very, very soon. Likely this week. That will be with my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks Charms. But yeah, guys, please, again, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share this with your nan, all your boys. Make sure to put them onto this podcast. If you're not now, you'll regret it later. But yeah, appreciate everyone that's tuned in now and so far. Keep supporting.